And welcome everyone to Tuesday Night Show and Share. This is where we gather and share our projects, whether they be in progress, finished, or failures. Because on the failures, we learn what to do better on the next project, and we can all learn how to do it better. One example I have is on the heat press we have back in Fiber Arts. I used it for the first time, put it to the temperature setting that it suggested. Thank goodness it was actually practice cloth that was in there, because it came out toasty, as did the parchment paper. It turns out that the heat press is in centigrades, not Fahrenheit. So we can all learn from our failures. Yeah. And that's what tonight's all about. So let's start with our first project. Hopefully there's not a failure. Barbara, you want to show your mugs? We've done this before, so.
I don't know. Okay, so using my silhouette machine and infusible ink, I created this mug. Now, how do I get it to show? There it is. I created this mug. This is actually a play I did down at Telco. I do theater, and it was called A Red Plaid Shirt. So I had the paper is the red plaid, and then I weeded out the letters to put, is it backwards?
It's upside down.
It's upside down.
There you go.
Better? Ah, there we go. Told you it's my first time. So it just shows that I weeded out the letters so that I had the shirt, and then where we did it. So everybody in the show got a mug. And this was using Cricut's infusible ink on the mugs, infusible mugs. Well, I got to play with things, and my understanding is that you could take laser paper and infusible ink pens and create your own. Let's see, it goes this way, yes. So, so I drew the little raccoon and infused it onto this side. Now, infusible with these mugs is a one-step process. If you're going to do two sides of a mug, you have to do it in one, because you can't go back. So I wanted to do the black and white on this side, and I colored him in on this side with the pens. So that's actually just using regular laser paper and the infusible ink pens, if you will. And so I have this entire group of mugs. I do these for weddings, when people get married that, you know, have their wedding dates and stuff on them. So that's my show. Yes, ma'am.
Questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Washable.
Yes. Ostensibly, they are washing machine, dishwasher safe, and I have run these through. I would not put them on the high heat. I wouldn't let them dry in the dishwasher, though.
So you're satisfied with the results?
Yeah, I love them. I mean, I'm having fun with them, like I said. My niece just got married in August, and I did use the different colors of the infusible ink sheets and did a mountain range with the Our Journey Has Begun, which was their theme for their wedding, in all colors, and I sent that to them for their wedding present. So,
Anybody else?
Tracy?
When you say infusible, how do you actually get it on there? What does that look like?
So I use my silhouette machine to design my pattern. Like on this one, the paper, it's infusible paper, was the red plaid. And then I used my silhouette machine to cut out my letters and weed it like I would a normal vinyl project, but it's reversed, right? Because you have to reverse it. And then I take the paper and I tape it onto the mug, and then it goes into the mug press, and it's like the heat press in there, only it's shaped like the mug, and it just, and it's very hot when it comes out, ridiculously hot. So you have to have a hot pad, you have to have gloves, etc. And then once it cools down, then you peel everything off, and this is what you get.
Does it only do the straight up and down mugs? Can it do the...
My mug press that I got for Christmas last year only does the straight up and down mugs. It'll do a 15-ounce mug, it'll do a 12-ounce mug, but it does not taper. Some of them do. I mean, there are heat presses that will do all kinds of different shapes and sizes of mugs, but mine just, the two sizes actually, and they only vary by height. So, anything else? Yes?
So the mugs are coated with a special coating line that way, or?
My understanding is that you cannot infuse on, like you can't go to the Dollar General store and buy a ceramic mug and infuse on it. It won't do. There has to be a certain polyester content in the material for it to fuse, for the infusibles to work. Which is why when you go to the store and you try to buy t-shirts to infuse on, they have to have a certain polyester content. These mugs have to have a certain polyester content.
So are those special order, or are they just?
You can find them at any of the craft stores. The first ones I bought, probably this one I bought at Michael's. These I ordered in bulk from Amazon. You know, because I got like 24 of them still sitting in the closet.
Well, if you're doing them for weddings, you got.
Yeah, I do them for weddings, and like I said, when I do a show, I'm doing a show in April, and everybody in the show will get a mug. So that's what I do.
So next up, we have Patrick with It's Not Bloody Cursed.
So about this time last year, my girlfriend asked me, hey, we need some Halloween costumes. Can you be Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows? And I said, yeah, I guess so. Can you make that hat? Yeah. When do we have it? When's the thing? Are we doing something? She says, tomorrow. So, okay. So I got in the closet and found an old leather jacket that I'll never fit in again, and got the scissors and got to work. Now, it's not bloody cussed, but it is genuine witch skin, and it's, I don't know why I went with a genuine cardboard core. I mean, it was already leather and the glue gun was hot. Why did I just skip you know what it was? Lack of fret time. There was no fret time to be had. So, you know, I got to glue it together and burnt all to hell. And so we found some stuff to put on there, make it a little authentic. Let's see, painted it up, and it was fun. There's some neat little bits. I'll pass it around, but yeah. And let's see, is that right? And then there we are. And it was fun. So anyway, yes. Oh yeah, for sure. She doesn't allow pictures. They don't show up anyway.
Do you know what you're going to be this Halloween? Has she told you yet? Or
She has told me. She has told me. I'm wearing my tuxedo with a little sign that says, I apologize for my actions. I will be a formal apology. Let's see, that was, oh gosh, you know, maybe 3 or 4 hours. I had a lot of fun with it. Let's see, is that yarn? I guess that's yarn. I just had to keep cutting out these little things and sticking them on there. And then I had other ideas for moles and such. And there's a fun little bit right here. Watch your fingers. I think that's the armpit. Any other questions? All right.
That's amazing. All right, next up we have Isaac with the spooky craft. I think we're getting a little bit Halloween themed here.
So I too was bamboozled. I was bamboozled into facilitating a spooky craft for the Maker Mingle on Thursday. And so it's one of these situations where you have a group of people you've never met before, you have no idea what their skill or interest level is going to be, and yet you've got to make a craft that's going to try and satisfy them in some way. Everybody can complete it, you know. Talk about your fret time, man. I've been thinking about this for weeks. So this is what I came up with. Some of y'all may have already seen this on Mattermost. It is a papercraft skull project. And I looked at countless many papercraft pumpkins and bats and skulls, trying to find one that was complex enough that it seemed satisfying, but not so complex that it would take too long or that there was a good chance of failure. And I wanted to incorporate the electronics to give it sort of Isaac flair, because obviously it's got to light up or it's not worth anything, right? So in addition to one sheet of paper, it has inside of it a button battery and 2 blinking LEDs and about 6 inches of copper tape. So I mean, there's almost literally nothing to it, but getting to that point took me a little bit. This is not quite finished. This is like the last prototype I'll probably actually put together, but there are some refinements. The design that I picked, I saw pictures of the completed one, but I couldn't actually find like the art itself. I think it came from a printer manufacturer, but I'm not sure. I did find a photograph that showed the art though, but the resolution was too crummy to actually use. So I had to recreate the art in Inkscape. And of course, Inkscape, as many of you know, has that tantalizing feature called Trace Bitmap that is complete garbage. I always invoke it because it takes seconds to be disappointed. And I was disappointed, and then I recreated all the geometry from scratch. So this is what my finished cut piece looks like. And so, not a lot to say, I guess. It's pretty obvious, you know, that you sort of pop this thing out and glue it together. I used a cool trick that Amos taught me, where you leave these tiny, tiny little tabs that connect everything still together so that, you know, it's still carryable as a sheet of paper. You can hand it to somebody, but then the pieces pop right out, because the point is not scissor skills, right? And then this is the little piece that I added, which is the electronic circuit. And this is my attempt to sort of symbolize how you lay it out. We'll see how that works, showing people how to do that. So the mistake that I made on this is, you see, I used the Knox Makers laser extension to cross-hatch the heck out of it to make lovely dark spots, right? Because I wanted to do this whole thing on laser so that I could both get the art and also do the cutting. But this part takes a long time to laser, so that was very foolish on my part. So my revised art has much less of the cross-hatching. Anyway, I did this paper electronic stuff at the Spark holiday party a couple years ago, and to my surprise I found that it would run for like a month and a half on that little button battery, which is far longer than people's interest will extend. So I think it's going to work out okay, but we'll see what happens on Thursday. So anyway, that's what I made.
How much time on the laser to cut?
So the one I just showed you cuts in exactly 4 minutes, which if you just want one is fine, but I need to make several, so that's lousy. I haven't tried my revised cut pattern yet, but I estimate that it will go 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. Yeah.
Multiple sheets at the same time?
Yeah, I think you probably could panelize it if you wanted to, and I may do that. Joe suggested that, and I thought it was a really cool idea. If I was only cutting, I think you could do that, but I'm also engraving, so to speak, you know, to market, and you can only do that on the top layer, so that wouldn't work so good. And I thought about trying to laser print and then cut in 2 steps, but it seemed too fiddly. So that's where I'm at. Righto.
So I didn't notice an on-off switch?
No on-off switch. You're stuck with it once you put it together.
All right. month and a half. That should take me all the way to Thanksgiving, right? Yeah, then we can have a turkey with blinking lights. Huh? All right, anybody else that missed signing up? Okay, Sarah, you.
Hello, I'm Steve. And that is a jar lid. Excuse me? Okay. And first of all, not going in a dishwasher, but they do seal. I give these away a lot. How'd I make him? Carefully. I start out with a piece of wood. Starts out about 3.5 by 3.5 by whatever length. I slice them off into 1.25 sections. Start turning. Actually, a lot of times I'll knock the corners off just to make it easier on my hands. These are recycled. Well, they're culls from table leg furniture places, I think. But I've got a friend of mine over in West Tennessee that has been getting a lot of that, so I'm trying to figure out something to do with it. But anyway, I'll take that and turn it, and I've got some tools I can do, some little doodads on the top. And just before I got here tonight, let's see if I can get where you can see the light shining through it. I nearly had my perfect funnel. I cut it because I drill from the inside to put my jar ring or jar lid, and then turn the outside. And in turning the outside, I got just a little close, but they're not too bad. If you've got a 2 7/8 inch Forstner bit, you can go at it. So, but anyway, that's a little project I had working this afternoon. And again, it's on a lathe. My drill press is not accurate enough or steady enough or powerful enough to handle a Forstner bit of that size. And most of the time, this is looks like walnut. It may be soft enough I can go at it with one pass, but generally I'll take a 2-inch Forstner bit and take the center out and then come back with a 2 7/8. And at that point, that's the jar lid fits in there. Of course, I will put some adhesive on the back. No. Generally, I go as fast as the lathe will go. It just depends on, if the tools are sharp, you can go at it. If they're not sharp, it's just going to chatter and end up doing something worse than that. I've thrown a couple pieces across the room this week. But anyway, that's what I've got.
How did you do the engraving?
It's called a Sorby tool. It's got what looks like a cog on a gear, maybe 1 inch in diameter, and so it has a handle mounted on it, and you just come in at an angle. I'm going to pass this one around. You can notice it's got 2 different angles. Trust me, it didn't work the first time I tried it. But after a little practice, I think you're only limited by your imagination on what this tool will do. There's very little that you're gonna be able to repeat exactly the same. You'll have close, but the repeatability of that tool is not real good, but it gives you an interesting design. And that's what I've got.
All those grooves are so well evenly spaced. That's amazing. Ah. All right, I believe you had something as well.
I think this is the third or fourth time I've presented this project, but today we're finishing it. Okay, I think the last time I showed it, it was somewhere around this state here. Again, for anyone who missed it before, I'm putting in a chip tray, or chip catcher for my lathe. I then got the rails underneath. I then got a piece of cardboard and cut out the shape that I wanted the tray to be. And then I got it made into a piece of sheet metal, and I've never really worked with sheet metal before, and it was kind of tricky to get it all bent up to shape. It had a little curved end there to get that all to fit up underneath there, and it was pretty heavy trying to get it up underneath there by myself and get it up and get it mounted. There were no curse words said, I promise. And here I'm making some holes for it. I then got it painted. Then started putting up the rest of the frame. You can see there on the back. At this point now I've got the pan underneath there with those rails underneath it to hold it up. And then I'm working on the back frame. Then started working on getting some pieces to go in there. It's the wrong video. Here we go. Let's see if it's coming. Yeah, this thing's trying to get them to fit in. It was like a Chinese jigsaw puzzle to try to get all the pieces, and I would get it all together and have to take it apart, and did that multiple times to try to get it to fit. And then got it painted. And let's see here if I get the final thing. And there it is. It doesn't look super great. It'll stop the chips, and I kind of like it, but it's not perfect. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. Any questions? Thank you.
Project in progress. That's a perfect example. Anybody else? All right, you, sir. Well, I had it hidden.
We're gonna have to do this tonight or never till next year. Actually joined to learn stuff that occurred to me. I could actually instruct one thing about a decade or two ago. I was doing Jack, and it occurred to me that I could use some modeling things to make it. Go around to the microphone. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to get. Trying to make the most of the time spent in transit. Occurred to me that I could use the negative space to do portraits in jack-o'-lanterns. I was very proud of it because I invented that. I really did. But it must be 100 monkey things, because by the end of the year, there was 2 TV shows that had the jack-o'-lanterns done the same way. And now I think probably thousands of people are doing it, but I did invent it all on my own, not knowing that other people also invented it. I don't know how to do this. The light source for the jack-o'-lantern. I can't do much in the way of technology. I can barely work a smartphone. At any rate, a friend of mine was a famous horror writer. He's from Knoxville, and for many years, people have been trying to do to establish a horror festival with him sort of as the linchpin. And it occurred to me that a jack-o'-lantern with his portrait would be a perfect tribute. These things sure are complicated. Okay, just trying to find the artwork that I was deriving this from. I'll come back to that. At any rate, the tricky thing is that the positive, or what would ordinarily be the positive upraised parts of the sculpture, have to be incised more deeply, so that it's counterintuitive when you're trying to sculpt it. See if my progress photos are easier to get at. Okay, here's something actually pertinent. I started out with just a simple kitchen knife. Okay. And see, right off the bat, this pumpkin is very dense. They're denser than they used to be. Right off the bat, the tip of it broke off. So I was able to use that flat tip to scrape with, which came in fairly handy. This is some of the progress. That's a little too far along. And there it is with the sketch. Sometimes you do, the other one I tried to use a transfer to get the pattern in advance because it was supposed to be a portrait. This one I just did freehand to see if I could. I've not done any art in like 10 or 15 years, so I wasn't sure if I could still draw, let alone carve. And I used to be a sculptor, a commercial sculptor too, but that's a little harder with only one eye. Okay. Okay. So can't really get the full effect here. So let's see if I can do it. You can't see there, can you? how can I display it? Oh, okay. Has to be pretty dark when I get it. This is when I actually freehand. That's my technique. But it really doesn't come across in bright light. And then good. Okay. I'll just play separately then. This is going to be anticlimactic thing with the other one. This is one that was based on the horror legend of Lake Carl Wagner's. Of course, I'm trying to, several of them trying to get a local festival established, like a local horror festival. He actually died in the middle of October, appropriately enough. And this is the transfer. First I did a sketch based on the artwork that I did for a t-shirt many years ago, which I was trying to get on my cell phone. No luck so far. Point is to transfer this onto the pumpkin. I have a bunch of this is something new called a fun designed just to be polished, set around. So I thought it'd be much easier than a real pumpkin. Turned out not to be. First problem was I couldn't transfer the image on the pumpkin because all my ways to transfer it. I coloring the back of it with dark paint and so on, and didn't work on the surface. So finally gave up and had to copy that freehand. So basically was trying to do a portrait in the negative. It was counterintuitive. This one only goes all the way through a couple of points. I had two flashlights when I started out, and I went down to one. Oh, look at this one. Not really successful as a portrait in some circumstances. My goal here was to explain the principles so that your own loved ones help you. They'll be very flattered. I did one instructor. People recognize right off the bat. But they wanted that she would appreciate being seen as a jack-o'-lantern. It actually works better with a dimmer light. So enough. I can just find. If I can just find the one I was trying to start with. This is the other one again. And like I said, I'm not real skilled with iPhone. I can make a fire out of rubbing sticks, but anything more technological than that is.
So the second one you showed, it's out of a bone?
Pardon?
Is it
Yeah.
bone?
Yeah, some kind of phone.
Was it easier to carve the shape than the real pumpkin?
I thought it would be. That was my intention, but it actually wasn't because the phone, I couldn't find any tool really worked on it. Some kind of a brass or all, something what I needed. But I got a Dremel tool trying to cut the Dremel, and it tended to grab and dig in. So that was not.
Okay. experience that when I have somebody watching me, I can't find it. So if you want to step aside and I'll
Okay.
make some announcements, you keep
Absolutely.
looking and then you can come on back up. Thank you. So as promised, I'll make some announcements. Since we're talking about stuff that's spooky and scary, there is a large format printer over here that is free for the taking. Now, what's scary about that? Well, from what I understand, there's some ink in it that could release and create quite the mess on your clothing and you if you're not careful. So if you're interested, caution, but we'd like it gone in the next week. In pieces or no. The next thing, maybe not so spooky, is going to be the new members onboarding following this. And then on Thursday, we've got the Maker Meet. Isaac mentioned it a little bit. So we're going to have artists from the Makers City meeting upstairs. We're hosting down here as well. So there'll be a lot of foot traffic in the space on Thursday night. So if you're a little bit bashful or prefer to work on your own, you might not want to come to the shop Thursday night. But if you like to show off what you're doing, by all means, come on in and come down. We'll have lots of people that you can share that with. In preparation, maybe tonight after we break up, you can go to your favorite zone and help the czar tidy up a bit so we have the place looking nice for that mingle on Thursday. Next up, we've got a machining class on Friday night, Machining 100. I think I still saw a few tickets. That's really unusual to still have that. Saturday, milling. November 19th, we have laser cutting off, and as of last night, there was still at least one ticket left. Those also go fast. On November 27th, we have a MIG welding class. I want to back up and plug on November 7th. I think it just made it on the calendar today. Chapters 4 through 8 in the Arduino process. That's available to purchase now. On November 12th, I'm doing the Let's Sew Some covers for the new welding machines. So this is a class where you can learn to sew. It's straight stitching. There's no muss, no fuss. We're just going to take some scraps and sew them together, and whatever they look like, at least they'll cover the machines. And we help the other zone. So that'll be great. It's a win-win for all of us. On November 19th, we are going to hold once again our Stitch and Gab. So come on in, bring some hand stitching to do, a hand project. The last one was great. We talked about books, movies, what we do. It isn't all just complaining. So at that point, did you find the artist?
Says my phone's not connected to the internet, though.
Oh, bummer. I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're going to break for a few minutes. Then we're going to reconvene for the new members onboarding. If you're here to get a key, see John Dell. He's back in the corner. If you need a tour tonight, somebody with the red badge can do that for you. And at this point, let's get out there and get making. Thank you all.